Hello and welcome to my Heroes of Hammerwatch 2 Starting Characters Guide. Heroes of Hammerwatch 2 has a vast selection of characters and specializations, but you only start with these four characters: Paladin, Ranger, Wizard, and Warrior. If you are wondering which character you should select right when starting the game, this guide is for you. I will be going over the starting abilities and weapons of each class as well as the positives and negatives. First, the Paladin. The Paladin starts with a robust kit that has the potential to make your first runs go far. Blessed Strike is the Paladin's first ability, which deals damage in a circle in front of you. With a decent amount of damage, low mana cost, and a short cooldown, this ability is the bread and butter of the Paladin and weaves greatly into the Paladin's attack combo. Lay on Hands is the Paladin's second ability, which allows you to heal yourself and allies around you. This includes other players as well as NPCs that you can find in levels that will follow you. This heal is massive and does not cost much mana, but it has a semi-long cooldown, so make sure to save it for clutch scenarios and always make sure you have the mana for it before taking a fight. The first Paladin passive is Armored Knight, and it is pretty straightforward, as well as just solid all around. You get straight armor as well as a percentage boost of your armor total. This allows you to be extremely tanky in the early game and pairs well with Lay on Hands. As a bonus, this ability also has a 20% chance to block 100% of physical damage, which is an insane starting passive to have. The second passive is Conviction, and it grants your melee weapon the ability to restore some mana on each hit, so make sure to get a lot of melee hits in between each of your Blessed Strike casts. The starting weapons for the Paladin are a ball mace and a wooden shield. The shield is great and has the ability to stun enemies for a short time, which can help you out immensely when you group up groups of enemies. But the mace's ability of a chance at stunning, it's worse than the other starting weapons. If you can get a different weapon, especially one that has a faster swing time to proc your Conviction passive, you will see a great increase in the Paladin's overall playstyle. The Paladin is a tanky powerhouse that can dish out damage while also being extremely safe because you take less damage and you can just heal it. The Ranger is, as the name would suggest, a ranged powerhouse, with a great kit that pairs well with a playstyle of backing up as you do damage, also known as kiting. Their first ability is Marked Shot, which is a large circle that you can throw at a range that deals good damage as well as marks those enemies to take additional damage from the Ranger's bow and the Ranger's allies. With a super short cooldown and low mana cost, this allows the Ranger to handle large amounts of grouped up enemies very quickly. The Ranger's second ability, Trap, places a small trap down that deals damage and cripples any creatures that move over it. This ability is best used as a way to kite enemies as you back up, so you can keep peppering them with arrows or another Marked Shot. With the same mana cost and cooldown as Marked Shot, you will probably be using Marked Shot in most scenarios to conserve mana, but the use of Trap gives you the ability to reposition if things are looking dicey. Rhythm is the Ranger's damage-based passive, which gives increased weapon crit chance all the time, as well as an increased weapon crit chance per stack of Rhythm, which is a buff that happens whenever you crit. It also improves weapon crit damage, so this ability has the potential to give the Ranger a massive buff in damage if you can synergize with critical hits. Survivalist is the Ranger's defensive passive, which gives the Ranger a buff of less damage taken after getting hit once. This buff lasts for 3 seconds, and the cooldown starts at 8 seconds, so you are left unprotected for about 5 seconds, which is the main downside of the Ranger in my opinion. The Ranger's short bow has two abilities. The first, allowing rapid firing for half damage, while the second is a powerful shot that needs to be charged up but does 150% of the bow's damage. Due to the charging time, it is best to open up with a power shot and then rapid fire. Overall, the Ranger is a high damage dealer who excels at keeping distance, but if enemies ever close that distance or you back up the wrong way, your run could end very quickly. The wizard plays similar to the ranger in that you try to keep a distance, but it substitutes survivability for high burst damage. The first wizard ability is Magic Missiles. This sends out 3 tracking missiles that do a decent amount of damage on impact, which is great for single target damage or small packs of enemies to pick off. Its low cooldown also enables it to be spammed if you have the mana for it. The second ability is Fireball. It unleashes a large circle, similar to Mark's shot on the Ranger, that deals a ton of damage for only 10 more mana than Magic Missile. With a cooldown of 5 seconds, it is definitely meant to be the wizard's bread and butter for packs of enemies. Barrier is the wizard's defensive passive, which allows the wizard to accumulate stacks of a buff that, when hit, reduce the damage of that hit and remove 1 stack of the buff. This in practice is very similar to Survivalist on Ranger, but while it reduces more damage, its recharge time is significantly worse, and it only lasts for 3 hits, so you can be overwhelmed and killed very quickly. Arcane Intellect is the wizard's other passive that increases mana and the intelligence stat, which increases spell damage and spell crit chance. The wizard starts with a fire wand, which sends out an explosive that does 40% weapon damage in a small area, while the frost tome gives you a shield that, when triggered by a nearby enemy, explodes to do damage, possibly saving your life. Overall, the wizard is a great spell-focused burst class that has a lot of potential, but early on you have a high likelihood of getting swarmed and dying very quickly if your dash is down and you can't escape. Warrior is the other of the 2 melee starting classes, and it focuses on buffing up to output tons of damage. Whirling Axes is the warrior's first ability, which throws 2 projectiles that arc out and do damage. With a low cooldown and low mana cost, it is a great damaging ability, but it suffers from the arc of the axes being a bit unpredictable before you get used to them. If you can get the upgrade that makes the axes come back, this ability will be great. Warcry is the warrior's second ability and gives a weapon speed and movement speed buff for 8 seconds while the cooldown is 12 seconds, meaning that you can have this buff up most of the time, and having it up in nearly every fight is the key to playing warrior well. For this buff, look to upgrade and get the heal if you can find it, because that'll make your run even better and allow you to have even more survivability on the warrior. Warrior's Constitution is a defensive passive, which increases percent health and percent poison resistance, which helps the warrior survive even longer on the levels. Killing Spree is the other passive that lets you stack damage as long as you keep killing enemies in rapid succession. This lends the warrior to a playstyle of trying to speed through the level and take out enemies while your stacks are still up. The Great Cleaver has a frontal slash, which does great damage and can inflict a bleed. Its secondary ability allows you to whirlwind and hit all the enemies around you. The warrior has great survivability, great damage, but to use it to its utmost, you have to know the balance of how fast you can go in a level while still staying alive from not pulling too much, which can take some time to learn. These 4 starting classes are fun and they're all good in their own ways. While each can excel after many town upgrades and through a bunch of progression, the Paladin stands at the front for the best pick for your first run, due to its ability to stay alive so easily. If you are planning to start out solo, I highly recommend the Paladin, but if you are playing in a group, whatever is fun to you is what you should play, because you will have more bases covered with multiple player characters in a level. Thanks for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe to see more Hammerwatch 2 tips. And check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/champofthelight to see some live runs where I can answer any questions.